Before any further ado, I would like to request for this clarification from you with regards to a consultation to the President. Earlier you said when you were asked questions by the evidence leader, the response that you gave is that you did consult the President and the President consented to the disbandment of the PKTT. Today, when Honorable Ngola was asking the same question about consultation between yourself and the President, you gave a different answer. You said you did not consult the President. So for my record, which one should I take? Did you consult or you didn't consult the President?
I did. I did consult after writing.
After means after
the letter
the 31st.
Of the 31st, yes.
After the 31st of December.
Yes.
Okay, so you were not consulting, you were informing him because the decision had already been taken.
Well, that could be your interpretation or somebody's or anybody's interpretation, but factually, it was after the 31st.
Okay. If I can summarize the presentation that you have given here before the committee, you said that the reason why you disbanded the team is because A, you have a constitutional right to do so. 2, and you gave different interpretations of the clauses in the Constitution. B, you had budgetary concerns. C, there are complaints that you received from the members of the public. D, there is a work study that was conducted which influenced your decision. Is that the correct summary of your whole presentation?
Fairly, yes, because you count the Constitution, in other words, that I was within my constitutional right, and the clauses that is within the legislative framework, and then budgetary constraints, and then complaints not just from the public, where I want just a slight amendment, but also from members of the National Political Killings Task Team internally, not just outside that. And then the work study and implementation thereof.
Okay.
It's a fair summary.
Yes, I just want us to deal with one aspect, the aspect of complaints from members of the public. The evidence that you have attached to your statement is an evidence that relates to complaints that were written by Patricia Mashale and Mary Dihas. Those are the two complainants that we have attached in your statement. Now, you have even went to an extent of attaching Facebook posts that were written by Patricia Mashale. Do you regard the allegations that were made by Patricia Mashale as damning? Were they damning?
First, I must correct that I only included those two. I did include that there are other people internal to National Political Killings Task Team. I did indicate that in my main submission, and that I even went on to suggest that they be called in themselves to speak. And I did engage the evidence leader how it could be done and all of that, and therefore they are included in the submission. It's not just Patricia Mashale.
Yeah, but I'm saying mainly the evidence of Patricia Mashale is dominating, for instance, the Facebook post and so on, and emails that were written by her to your office.
And then your question?
The question is, do you regard the allegations that she was making as damning?
Well, I regard that as something that can't be ignored. That's why I brought it. Not necessarily damning, especially because I did indicate that at some point I got worried about the frequency with which she was sending things about subs, and I went to the IGI to say, can you profile this lady to me, because I am looking at the frequency. I want to know who she is exactly and so on. So not necessarily all damning, not just damning, not damning in all respects. There are somewhere where you feel, yo, this matter, but in others it's a repeat of what you know and all of that.
Yeah,
Yes.
but the fact of the matter, are you done, Minister?
The fact
Are you
of the
done?
matter-
Are you done?
Yes.
But the fact of the matter is that when you were giving reasons here for the decision that you took on the 31st, you made mention of these reasons, of these complaints. So it means they influenced your decision in one way or the other. Is that correct?
Well, I'm not sure exactly when you talk about influence, because it could be misinterpreted, but I'm counting it as a factor. There was this, there was that, there was all these issues. To me, they gave a collective weight that caused me to write this collectively. But if you select one and as having this and that, it will be a problem, because immediately you discount all others. So I weighed all of them.
Yeah. No, I'm not discarding others, Minister. I'm saying
Okay.
they are part of the reasons that
Yes.
influenced your decision
Yes.
on the 31st of December.
Yes.
Now, don't you think you acted irrational by being influenced by decisions which you have never tested through subjecting them to an investigation?
No, all the time when there are matters like those, you need some form of investigation, or if not an investigation itself. Now, when I took the decision, I did indicate clearly, as I do now, that I was looking forward to more engagement through the preliminary report and through the meeting of UNESCO. That is where we're going to meet high level, all of us. And then I would have outlined all my concerns, including that one. And therefore, I'm responding in that particular way. That you in a way, the letter could be regarded as an invitation for a serious, substantial discussion internally from me to the National Commissioner, so that we discuss this. That's why I said it was not a fait accompli at all, but it was a decision. Like all other decisions in the world, not just in South Africa or in Parliament, when there are weighty matters coming your way after you have taken a decision, you review your decision. You can always review your decision if there are weighty matters coming your way. But what I did was to take a decision when I felt that the matters before me warrant a decision, and I did so.
So do you agree with me, Minister, that these allegations were never tested? You never even attempted to test them through a thorough investigation?
Not necessarily that way. Remember that a person like De Haas also came to Parliament, and they were talking about things that you yourself would see in the department, and you would hear from other people talking from a different angle, but saying the same thing. And even though you may not necessarily call that an investigation, but you could see that other people are also concerned, or they are sharing the concern. So, in as far as a shared concern is concerned on some matters, yes, even though they were not tested in an investigation, which I said, by the way, the form in which the inquiry, which I spoke about with a special advisor at the beginning of the year, was still in question. How would we do it? How do we craft it? Because we knew, even having taken the decision, we needed these other people to give them a platform where they would talk about the things they were saying to me, but in a platform created for that, while meeting their demands of safety and all of that and so on that they were counting. So while it is there was no rigorous testing, but it was not just a copycat of seeing a complaint, then you go and write a letter. It was, and for instance, there are also matters, the structure and all of that had gone a long way and had evidence that they were processed and so on. So that is how it is.
Yeah. Let me tell you the logic from which I'm coming, Minister. When I say you never tested them, I mean that you just acted upon a belief that they are true. Because you were supposed to say, let me appoint a forensic investigator, like you did. You gave an instruction for a tender of 360 million, that it must be audited, the contract. With regards to this one, which was putting the name of the organization into disrepute, you just acted based on allegations which were written on Facebook. Because partly, I'm saying partly, because you even attached them to your statement to say these are one of the reasons that led to the disbandment. So it means they influenced your decision. Because if they did not influence your decision, then there is no need for them to be part of your submission here in Parliament. So they did influence your decision. I'm not saying they represent holistically the decisions that influenced you, but they are part of the reasons that influenced you. And if you agree with me on that, then it means you acted with negligence because you failed to test them.
Not necessarily. I've already said what they were saying in those emails and correspondence. There were other concerns raised by other people for cross-checking, and I found that, yes, I may not have ordered an inquiry, but what this one is saying sounds the same, or it looks the same, or is similar to what the other person is saying. And therefore, it is a factor, and I went on. And there was plenty of time for me ahead, I mean, after the decision, to do the actual testing. Hence, I discussed a possible inquiry with a special advisor.
Now, was that approach not improper to disband and later test? Because we are saying here there was plenty of time for you to test them after the decision. Meaning after their irreparable harm was effected by you. Because you took a decision to disband on the basis of these allegations. And you are saying, let me implement a decision on the basis of these allegations and test them later. Is that logical, Minister?
No, but remember, I've always said there was a category of people who asked for meetings with me, called me, and so on, outside of Patricia, outside of the House, who raised grave things, and I even categorize those things as of an HR nature within the National Political Task Team, but also of a nature that I felt would be regarded as of disrepute to police general, if not defeating the ends of justice. Now, once I looked at them like that, I wanted this matter to be brought into all of our attention, but then there was an issue of risk requiring further probe in terms of how would you have this but still guarantee their safety, whether they're at work and so on. So it was not just a question of reading an email, balancing it with any other, and then writing. There were other matters that I have already indicated.
Okay, Minister, let's go to page 9, paragraph 18, where you say, my orientation was extensive and ended only this year. So you are saying that in a context, your extension, it's on paragraph 9, I mean paragraph 18, page 9. So here you were just explaining that during the period of your arrival and when the decision, you were still under orientation. And your orientation was extensive, it only ended this year.
Yes.
Now this year is 2025.
Yes.
Is that what you meant?
Yes, I did indicate that.
Should we put it on record that you took a decision to disband while you were still under orientation?
Not necessarily. And the reason is, I said my orientation got or extended to discussions, extended to decisions. I do indicate that in my main submission because it did. What I mean is, even on the third round of discussions on the same issue, scaled down to smaller units or areas at work, where you would have started, for instance, discussing support services, which is a big branch. You would, in your second round, take one of the issues that fall within, like the structure, for instance, the organizational structure. You separate it, you discuss it until you take a resolution, which we did. We took a resolution during that period. So by the time we reviewed the structure, it wouldn't have been called orientation in the normal sense of the word, because we had understood that the structure of this organization is like this. Now, we took another round to match it with the imperatives of the 7th administration. And to say, if you are structured like this, would you be able to meet the imperatives? And that is what we did. And then we looked also at the budget and so on. So, yes, it was loosely spoken about. It was the period, broadly speaking, of orientation, but not necessarily that we were in the mode of orientation in the normal sense of the word. We were discussing and taking decisions. Because this was the 5th month already. So I can't say for 5 months I was just cruising with orientations only. I was at work already, having understood some of the aspects.
Now, with regards to the allegations that were raised, because the allegations, insofar as they are concerned, they also implicate some members of the organization. The Facebook post, for instance, of Ms. Mashale, they even speak about an illegal abuse of monies in the secrets account. And they even mention names that they allege to be involved. Did you give those individuals an opportunity to explain, to say, gentlemen, come here are the allegations against you. How do you respond to them?
Now, the letter was written on the 31st. These allegations had been going on for some time, and we did talk about them internally. personally with the National Commissioner. And we did talk about Patricia Mashale, to be specific. And he did say, tell me what his take is. And I took it for what he was saying, that she always writes, she always complains, and they have a particular regard on her and so on. So I didn't go on beyond the National Commission to specific people. It was only in January, around the 7th of January, when many allegations of the sale of property that emerged to the public, that I started saying, now, these matters that are emerging now can't just be left without an investigation, a proper investigation. That is when I went to the IGI to say, I've become aware of these allegations about alleged improper procurement of buildings and so on, including this name and that name. So let's do this. Go and investigate, because that's your terrain. And that's exactly what I did.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter, Minister, and considering the explanation that you have given here, you took a decision without affording them an opportunity, either through appointing a forensic investigator or an internal investigation or conducting your own assessment.
But
it never happened.
The decision was not necessarily against those people that you see on Patricia Mashale's allegations, not at all. Until even when I took the decision that would affect some of them, I went to the IGI to say, investigate this and run with it. That's how it actually happened. So it's not like the decision of 31 December affected the people that you are talking about and that are spoken about in Patricia Mashale's letter or allegations, so to speak.
Now, when you are responding to Honorable Ngola, I think he was asking you about the constitutionality of your decision.
Yes.
And you said you acted within Section 207, subsection 2.
Yes.
Which gives you an authority to give a directive.
Among others, yes.
Amongst others, yes. Now, there's a difference between making a decision and giving a directive. Do you agree on that?
There is I would say, it's part and parcel. You can take a decision to issue a directive. In that way, they are connected. They're not necessarily independent of each other. In this instance, I took a decision to issue a particular directive or particular directives, 3 of them.
Yes. And having an authority to give a directive is not open-ended. It must be done within the constitutional order.
Definitely, it must be done with due regard to other sections of the Constitution, like policing policy, like the needs of a province, like all of those other injunctions of the Constitution.
Yes. So it doesn't mean that by virtue of having that right, you can do it anyhow. There is a process that you must adhere to in terms of the Constitution.
Well, not per se process, but other provisions. For instance, you must also pay due regard to the powers of the National Commissioner. You have to do that.
Exactly.
Because the Constitution doesn't prescribe the content of your directives, merely says directives.
Yeah, the Constitution doesn't prescribe the content, but yes, the Act gives a full meaning of a responsibility of the National Commissioner.
Yes.
And everything must be done within the legal framework. So it can't be directives. You can't say, Commissioner, wake up, sleep, go out, come in. It must be within the order of the Constitution. That is my point.
Yes, it covers both the Minister and the Chair, Section 24. Yes, you're right.
Section 11, subsection 2 D of the SAPS Act provides that the National Commissioner has powers to organize and reorganize the service into various components, units, or groups. I've just taken only that part because it is relevant to what I'm going to ask you.
Yes.
Is a task team part of a police service?
A task team part of police service?
Yes.
A task team is a part of policing practices. I would put it in my own words like that, so that I'm sure I understand.
Yes.
I have my own interpretation, but I'm sure we're saying the same thing.
Yeah. When you disband the task team, you are reorganizing the police service. That is my understanding. You reorganize the police service, you consider priorities and needs that are prevalent at that time of your decision. Is that correct?
When I do what?
I'm saying when you disband the task team under normal circumstances, you disband it because you are prioritizing needs and priorities that are prevalent at that time. Do you agree with me?
Partly minding that there are task teams that would have been established by a district commissioner or a provincial commissioner or a national commissioner using powers of that they have. But in the form of the National Political Killings Task Team, it came into existence via an intervention of the president and directed to the IMC, and then it came into being. And if you did so, it's not entirely like an internal, like for instance, the task team of 2016 to 18. That one had nothing to do with any intervention from anywhere else. Those ones were internal. Even 2014 to 16, that task team was internal. But this one had a difference. So what you are narrating, yes, but it applies to ordinary task teams that would have been established, not this particular one, because this one came as a result of an intervention.
But this task team, Minister, was established in accordance with the needs of KZN.
Yes.
Because political killings were prevalent in KZN, were rife in KZN.
Yes, but remember that those matters got elevated to the country as a whole, to the level of the country.
Yeah, but remember, we must not lose context. At the time when the decision was taken, there was a death of a comrade in KZN.
Yes.
And the president attended a funeral in KZN.
Yes.
And then he made a commitment that he was going to intervene. Post that, he came to Parliament, he announced the establishment of the interministerial committee. So I'm saying the main reason for its formation was the political killings that were rife in KZN.
Yes.
Yes.
To which the president decided to politically intervene.
Correct. And therefore, it was formed on the basis of the policing needs and priorities of KZN.
You could probably interpret it like that, but you are not talking about ordinary policing here, because there was that kind of, I would say, development in the province where there was an increase in observed of this particular nature. It was not just one incident, it was a pattern, and therefore the president decided to intervene. It's important to factor that in, that there was a pattern that was discernible that caused the president to act.
Okay, let me put this proposition to you, that the decision to disband falls within the ambit of Section 11, subsection 2 of the SAPS Act, which I've read. I can read it again for you, which provides that the National Commissioner has powers to organize and reorganize the service into various components, units, and groups. Now, the task team falls in a category of groups because it is not a unit. I think you gave a very eloquent explanation when you are making a difference between a unit and a task team. And therefore, this responsibility to disband does not fall within the powers of the minister. There is nowhere in the Constitution where you are given powers to either establish or disband a structure, because you don't have powers to control and manage the policy affairs or the policy services.
You would take care to note that when the National Commissioner exercises his powers, including that one, it is with due regard to the ministerial powers. I just want to put a comma there and go on to say, this task team, although it's a task team in the manner that would more or less be explained like that, this one didn't come just anyhow. The president intervened politically and caused certain matters to take a particular course via his decision. IMC, political task team. Okay. Not via the exercise of normal powers that you are talking about, where the National Commissioner in his office would say, let me reorder, let me organize, let me control, let me change, let me... It didn't come like that. It came via political intervention. Now the question is, or the issue is, if political interventions leads into what we ended up having in the manner that we had, what is wrong, either legally or otherwise, when the same political intervention is now reversed to say we are now disbanding what we brought into existence, we are now bringing it into an end? What's wrong with that? So my reasoning is that if you created an entity or a structure like that, political, it's different from a structure that emanated from within the office of the National Commissioner. You couldn't come as minister and say, you could discuss it, you could engage, but you couldn't just say, I am now using my powers, a directive to remove that because it was not created in this manner. It's unique. The political intervention unit is unique. Yes, it's a political task team, but I'm not sure whether it was envisaged in the Constitution there would be circumstances like those. It is in that venture that I say I was convinced that I'm perfectly within the Constitution and within the legislative framework, because even those powers that you are talking about that the National Commissioner exercises say have due regard with the other powers that the minister has. Hence, at some point, me saying, this is, at the end, if you look at it, you extricate yourself from the current issues that we are dealing with. The relationship between the minister, the executive authority, and the managerial authority is two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, but there's a difference, Minister, and I'm about to conclude this aspect because seemingly we are not agreeing. There is a difference between giving a directive and taking a decision on behalf of a person who has the authority to manage and control. Giving a directive doesn't mean that you can do or you can encroach powers of a person who has a statutory responsibility to manage and control. There's a difference between the two. A directive can say, make these considerations, I've made these observations. Since you have a power to control and manage, make these considerations and take a decision. But to go to an extent of signing, of writing a letter and take a decision on behalf of the National Commissioner, while he's not even there, he's on leave. To sign, I think, according to me, was extreme. You went to the extreme by signing a letter that disbands. It was going to be understandable if maybe you called the National Commissioner or you wrote a letter to him advising him that there are these concerns that you have as a minister. He must attend to them, or even advise that maybe we must consider disbanding this structure because of these reasons. But so you gave you gave yourself powers you don't have by signing a letter that communicates a disbandment.
I take it that the honourable member is not suggesting that I acted outside the Constitution, which I'm arguing I didn't. I acted within. And I'm also of the view that you're not necessarily saying I acted without my legislative powers, which I would deny and I'm denying. And then go on to say the National Commissioner, as from the 3rd, with evidence, acted accordingly. A letter was issued from his office. Presentation was, an outline of how this thing would happen, the disbandment, what way it would follow, what pattern it would follow was written on the 22nd. And then we went to March, the 5th, at the Portfolio Committee, an outline was made. And then on the 6th, the same thing happened. So that pattern of events would make you see that there was understanding and there was no feeling that I was outside the Constitution. That only arose at a later stage when there was talk of a commission and all of that. And I know why. And I did indicate that there was only one official, honorable member, that took exception to the dissolution. It was General Mkhwana's, right from the beginning on the 2nd. Only him. Not any other provincial commissioner, not the national commissioner, not anyone else. It was him. It is him who come with words like, was this fight back? Is the minister clean? He also proceeded to say something to the effect that to suggest that the commissioner, national commissioner, is busy coordinating meetings with people who are against the directives in his conversation with Chief of Staff. Now, it was all from him and so on. So that's why I'm saying not exactly, because we had an understanding. After all, there was nothing stopping the National Commissioner from writing me a letter to say, Minister, it happens all the time. I think that your directive, let's discuss your directive. I think that there's this and that in a corner or in writing. It would have happened. It would have happened. There was nothing preventing anything like that. In a similar way like I had written the letter myself. So that's how I put the things, and that's how they are.
Okay. On page 18, paragraph 41 of your statement, you are saying that a recommendation of the work study was that the PKTT be under the murder and robbery unit. Now the question is, how many task teams at this time? Did you make a research of how many task teams were in existence?
How many task teams?
Were in existence when this recommendation was made?
Yes, there were quite a number of them, but which were in one form or the other. But the main thing was that, or the characterization was that they were not integrated. And that's why the work study recommended, among other things, that they should be coordinated under or in a particular way. And then that work study was accepted. And I consider it as something that was rational, that they did, that, no, look, there must be specialization of all these small teams or task teams that are there, your anti-gang units and so on, when they started them, and they put them under serious and violent crimes, some of them, but others they put under organized crime units. Now that integration would then cause one commander for each, who would then have sub-teams under him, other smaller legs. And that would give rise to a better coordination, in my view. And hence, the work study was adopted, and it was then implemented, although very slowly. And in 2024, we find it there in one way or the other, in one form or the other, and then we move on with it. So it was put like that, and yes, there were others, but they were then reconfigured as per work study recommendations.
So since this recommendation was made, how many task teams have been dissolved?
Well, I don't have it in front of me, but it was in the, as evidence leader indicated, one of the days to say there were this and this and this, and I said yes, there were those task teams, and then they were integrated into, including anti-gang units, and there are even extortions in the new, in the what was new organogram, and yes, they were put. So each one of them has their own leaders, but under one commander of the whole of those sub units that were established. But I'm talking about the disbandment, Minister. Yes.
How many were disbanded after the decision, after this recommendation was made? How many task teams were disbanded?
Well, the question that you asked earlier, to say how many were there before,
yes,
and how many did the study recommend that they should be integrated, it refers to a specific list. So it means all those in that list, they were then integrated as per the recommendation of the work study, but I can't just say them out of hand.
Did you write a disbandment letter for them?
Pardon?
Did you write a disbandment letter for those that were also part of the list, like you did for the PKTT? Is there any letter that you wrote disbanding the other task teams?
Not necessarily, because they were not the subject of what we needed to do. Remember, here we were optimizing, we were wanting to ensure that we meet the obligations that we have. And there was an instrument that was already in place. They had already been integrated, but they were at various levels of being established or formed. And so we were confirming or endorsing that. It was not about looking at this team, disband it, looking at this team, and so on. But this one was unfocused at one point, just like the the police inspectorate was at focus in one of our discussions, and we say, no, look, let's look at this one. And we agreed to look at it. And then we're now looking at this one. And we decided that and look, it was not for the first time. I'm not the first person to mention disbandment of the political task team. The very beginning, it was temporal. It was never to be permanent. And there were extensions. You wouldn't extend on a permanent basis, keep on extending annually. They were outside of the structure. You wouldn't continue with that. It's not good governance. Quite a number of things that you would have needed to ratify anyway. So all others that were there had been integrated, and so there was no need to focus on them in any way, because they had been integrated.
So we should place it on the record that a task team for which a letter was issued to communicate its disbandment is only the PKTT.
Not necessarily, because I'm explaining that others had already been integrated.
Yes.
Those that were recommended by the work study.
Yeah.
And there were still, some of them were still in the process. But in terms of the letter, it was the National Political Task Team that had to be disbanded, and I've stated reasons that wouldn't apply to others because they were no longer there.
On page 25, paragraph 54, you say Mkhwanazi misleads and manipulates the minds of South Africans to believe that the PKTT, or the NPKTT as you refer to it, fell under his province. So you are saying this was a national team. It was not a KZN team.
Yes.
But don't you think he has an understanding that he has powers to preside over it because it falls within the area of his jurisdiction?
Yes,
in terms of the large part of its work?
He has a role to play in the sense that he provides the platform on which the National Political Task Team is based. He is provincial commissioner in KZN, and the National Political Task Team was established to focus primarily in KZN, so he definitely had a role to play.
Yes, because Section 12 of the SAPS Acts provide that a provincial commissioner shall have command and control over the service under his or her jurisdiction in the province.
Perfectly so.
That is what the Act provides.
Perfectly so. But the National Political Killing Task Team, when it got established, there was a particular person who was its commander and others below them.
Did you ever have a meeting with Meriti Haas, a physical meeting?
No.
You've never had a meeting with her?
No.
Now, General Mkhwanazi is your, I'm looking for the correct word. Should I refer to him as your subordinate or your junior?
Not necessarily, that's not the term. Maybe speaking strictly the language of government, you can use that word, but remember, he is actually under the National Commissioner, not directly under me.
Yeah, but he is your subordinate. That is the term that I can use at this moment. Now, he requests for a meeting with you. He writes to your WhatsApp, he requests for a meeting with you, General Sbia, and Brown Mokotsi. And the response that you have given to this committee is that you decided not to entertain that meeting because you never understood its structure. Is that the answer that you have given?
Now, look.
Or you never understood its constitutionality?
I first invited us to look at the content of that WhatsApp. It had him and the family that he said was getting affected. He also spoke about internal issues. And the third factor was that he went on to include people I had no understanding of in terms of why they would be called in the meeting. Now, I looked at that and I decided that the meeting would take a different form. And apart from that, I did say that there were other issues that got in shortly after, or that had taken place before he wrote the letter and after he wrote the letter. Now, the form that I thought it needed to take is the one that I implemented it, where I called a meeting between the National Commissioner and the Deputy National Commissioner because of what I thought was really becoming problematic. Let me just indicate what those things entail. At one point, I had a discussion with the National Commissioner, person to person. And I said to National Commissioner, one, I heard that you are understood to have raised your concern with the special advisor that myself as minister, I sat with General Libya of the Hawks and the special advisor discussing who would take over after National Commissioner. And I said to the National Commissioner, not on earth, such a meeting never took place where the three of us met and discussed you. It never happened. And again, I expressed confidence in working with him. That was the third element that we discussed there. But in another meeting where National Commissioner was with the head of crime intelligence, one of the reports they gave me was that they were investigating Deputy National Commissioner of Detectives, that is General Sibia, and that they were at an advanced stage. And I said to National Commissioner and Head of Crime Intelligence, if General Sibia has done anything unlawful, go on with the investigation, you have my support. You have my support. And I repeat, you have my support. That's what I said. Because they were just taking me into confidence. So in that particular context, this matter of an impression that got created of a special relationship of sorts between me and Sibia, I don't know where it came from. Now, when then General Mkhwanazi wrote me a letter, I was on the other hand getting concerned about what was happening between the National Commissioner and the Deputy National Commissioner, and said, maybe even before I call it a bigger group, let me call these two, because they are heart and soul of SAPS at the higher level. Then thereafter, it was Sibia and General Mkhwanazi. And then I invited the National Commissioner because I wanted him to be present to understand what was being discussed. That's why, among other things, I was quite surprised when General Mkhwanazi said this was a meeting between a police officer and a criminal or something, because he had included Sibia in his own meeting, the same Sibia that I called. So I was left wondering how now and so on. But I did entertain that WhatsApp, but in a different form. And I was thinking after that meeting that maybe Sibia seems to be a common denominator here. I would need to call a meeting between him and General Khumalo as well, because the air between them was actually not. So once you have dealt with that, then you can see other matters. So it wasn't a straightforward letter that said, Minister, please can we meet to discuss a national political killings task team, as it were.
Okay, second last question. I'm running out of time. When was the work study signed? The work study that made a recommendation that there must be a unit, there must be a murder and robbery unit. When was it signed? I'm asking because there is somewhere in your statement where you say it was signed by General Stolle, and later you say it was signed by General Masemula on the 5th of June 2025. So when was it exactly signed?
Yeah, General Masemula signed a new one arising from our reconfiguration of the organizational structure which we started last year, and we concluded that it was concluded earlier this year, and he signed it. But there had been another one for another term earlier by Sithole earlier in 2019.
So it is the new one that influenced your reason, right?
Yes, honorable member, because
not the old one.
Yes, because I had come and said there are new imperatives. They may demand a different structure, and let's look at that. And we started looking at it, and that's where all of this. And remember, I did indicate that we even divided Vispol into a separate division, which has now been done, and we removed also the inspectorate. So a number of things happened which had not been in the structure of 2019 to 24 that got introduced anew in the new one. Which
following your response, the assumption is that the new one can only come into operation after it has been signed by the National Commissioner,
yes,
correct?
because it went to negotiations with unions and all of that. That's why it sort of delayed January, February, March, April, and so on. I went to the extent of engaging unions myself to say, please, can you help us? We are in a hurry to implement the structure because we want to use it to fight crime out there, because we are under serious pressure to fight crime. No one is really recognizing that we are serious about fighting crime, because it is rampant, and I'm concerned about it.
So if it's unsigned, it has no binding effect. It's not operational.
The answer is?
If it's unsigned, it's not operational.
At the moment.
I'm saying if it is unsigned, it can never be operational.
It can be.
It can never have a binding effect.
It gets operational once you sign it.
So it was signed on it was signed in June on the 5th in terms of what we have written here. But the decision was taken on the 31st. So it means the decision was taken prior to implementing this study.
We had already
this work study.
By end of the year, we had already agreed, and I was anticipating. In fact, when I went to the meeting with National Commissioner and deputies and provincial commissioners on the 22nd of May, I already had in mind that we have decided on this structure. And when we count our concerns on those crimes, categories of crime, I knew that we already have an instrument at hand, just subject to ratification by unions and so on. So it was in anticipation, and I was conscious of it.
But it was not operational at that time.
It was not
when the
yet.
Decision was taken.
Well, not
when you took the decision on the 31st of December.
Not really entirely, because murder and robbery was there. The implementation structure had been discussed and decided on in May 2024 already, or March 2024. So it was a delayed structure which was there, but the new one had not become operational. They were still waiting, and so on.
Yeah, Chair, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to advise you that if you continue forever, the honorable member sitting next to you may end up forfeiting his minutes.
I'm only sympathizing with him. I still had interest of asking, but thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Honorable Sikhosana, it's your turn.
Thank you, Chair. And Honorable Minister Makingwane.
Bob.
My first question to you, Minister, will be, can you perhaps comment on the professionalism of Major General Van Rooyen, who holds a LLD degree. He's a LLD graduate, who's on record that you acted ultra vires.
Well, the comment is contained in my submission that I didn't. And in fact, I acted within the Constitution and within the legislative framework in terms of powers of the minister.
So you disagree with her?
I disagree with her upfront.
Thank you. Do you know and understand your job as a cabinet member responsible for policing?
Yes, I do.
Do you know and understand Chapter 11, Section 206 of the Constitution of the Republic?
Yes.
All in all.
Well, I may not claim I don't want to make claims to that effect as you are taking me through.
Do you know and understand the South African Police Service Act, Act 68 of 1995 as amended?
Yes.
In the 7th administration, because yesterday you spoke in length about the 7th administration, did you meet with the provincial government, especially in KwaZulu-Natal, where these killings were prevalent, in order to determine the policing needs and their priorities as expected in terms of the Constitution of the Republic? And if so, Minister, when was such engagement and what are the priorities focused especially in KwaZulu-Natal?
On the date on which I wrote the letter, the 31st, I had not met provincial government of KwaZulu-Natal, nor had I met any other province, but I knew that at some point I would meet with them to talk about this.
So you never met them?
You say I never?
Yeah, you never met them.
We had not met.
But you were able to disband that task team?
Yes, I was able to disband the task team because it didn't necessarily, because that's the impression that I want to remove, that it meant stopping policing in KZN. This was a team belonging to, at a national level, operating there, and I would engage with them at a later stage. But I had not met with them when I wrote the letter.
But do you understand that by doing so, you have violated the Constitution?
By dissolving the team, a team?
No, without consulting them.
Not necessarily.
So you disagree completely as well with that? That we are within the framework of the Constitution?
Yes.
We are within the rights of the Constitution to do that without any consultation?
Yes, because it was not alpha and omega,
now,
that decision.
Now, Minister,
it was the beginning of a process.
Yeah, remember, Minister, that the interministerial team did not only comprise of the Minister of Police. There were other ministers involved. Do you agree on that?
There were other, you mean in the interministerial?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, you never consulted them when you wrote that letter?
In the IMC, and it was no longer there when I came in the 7th administration.
Now, in other words, because they were not there when you came in, the question now, which would be very interesting to understand, does the Republic of South Africa have a national policing policy as envisaged in Section 206.1 of the Constitution of the Republic? And if so, was this development under this GNU government, or was it developed by the previous government? Remember when we spoke about the 7th administration, was this the GNU, or was it the previous one, the sixth administration?
That did what?
Let me ask you again. I'm saying to you, the Republic of South Africa have a national policing policy as envisaged in Section 2061 of the Constitution of the Republic. You know that we agree on that.
I hear you talking about the policing policy and at the same time the Constitution.
Yes.
Policing policy is the one that we developed after I got appointed and finalized.
Let me make things
Based
simple for you.
Based on the powers of the minister as indicated in the Constitution.
Jama-ke akhe ngibeke ngesintu. Ake ngithi kuwe ipolicy esikhuluma ngayo le yenziwa umbuso loya we-6th administration noma yenziwe umbuso lo we-GNU na iplan le.
Oh, you mean the policing policy, the new one that we have adopted? Is that your question?
Exactly my
question. We engaged on that, the policing policy, after we got appointed, up to adoption, up to finalization.
Minister, since you arrived at the office as a Minister of Police, did you receive any handover briefing or a report from General Kele?
Yes, I did.
If so, can we get a copy of that?
Pardon?
Can we get a copy of that?
Yes, you can get a copy thereof.
What is your understanding of the role of the Minister of Police as per Section 206 of the Constitution? Why I'm asking this again to you, Minister? Does this role include getting involved in development of organizational structures and the establishment of units and teams within SAPS? Because yesterday you spoke about a lot of, the issue of the organogram. Are you allowed to do that, Minister?
Yes. That is part of the policing policy. That is part of the directives. That's part, let me just say, that's part of the exercise of the powers of the minister in terms of the Constitution.
So the National Commission has nothing to do with that. It's your prerogative.
No, he does in terms of the Constitution. It's clearly indicated.
Does this information note, Minister, which makes recommendations about the review of detective services, constitute a work study document as per organizational development standard?
Can you come again with the question?
Remember, I said you were very passionate about the organogram.
Yes.
Now my question, here's my question. Does this informative note, which makes recommendations about the review of detective service, constitute a work study document as per organizational development standard?
Well, the information note would point to that work study that I spoke about of 2019 and the document of implementation in 2024. So that is what the information note would point to, pointing to the work study.
Confirm what we are telling us yet?
Yes, he would confirm because he signed in some of these documents as processes were initiated and finalized.
When you say some you might not have signed them.
Well, I wouldn't know any other, but those that concerned the organizational structure, the development of the work study up to signing, he was, and going on to implementation stage, he was involved as per signatures that are on documents.
In your submission, Minister, you spoke about a Kiviskroon. Am I right?
Yes.
Can you confirm who convened that meeting on the 24th of November 2024 at Kiviskroon? And my question is, what was the agenda of that meeting?
Meeting was convened by myself and the President, where the deputy ministers, national commissioner, deputy national commissioners, and provincial commissioners. I don't have the agenda of hand here, but the purpose for that meeting, among other things, was to discuss issues that I felt were of deep concern to me, namely murder rate, to proliferation of firearms, and then the drugs all over the country, and concerns around GBV and NF. And those are the matters that are outlined to leadership of police on that day.
So that was the agenda?
I suppose, even though I don't have the copy with me, but I think we also included a presentation by Advocate Bikoli, but I don't have the agenda.
Now, but we can get the minutes of that meeting.
Pardon?
We can get the minutes of that meeting.
Yes.
Because remember...
And the agenda.
Yeah, because we are under oath, Minister. Don't forget that. I must ask you again about that particular meeting, whereby you discuss your plan to close the PKTT and the feeling of a post of crime intelligence and border security. Was that discussed in that meeting?
Was that?
Was that discussed in that meeting? The feeling of post of crime intelligence
no.
and the border? It was not discussed?
No, it wasn't. The directives were not part of the agenda on that. It was the concerns around these 4 crimes, the 3 in particular.
Because the issue of the intelligence post and the issue of the border, which were supposed to be...
in the directives.
In the directives.
Yes.
Is those posts filled now? In other words, is there someone appointed into the post of a DG? If so, what is the name?
Post of the DG?
Yes.
Where?
Civilian Secretariat.
Oh yes, there's DG. I found there. He was there when I came.
Mr. Sibui.
Yes.
Now.
He's a doctor, Honorable Sikhosana.
Yes, Dr. Sibui. Yes.
Yes.
Why did you appoint your legal advisor, Advocate Bikoli, to give presentation on the 24th in that meeting?
Now, he is not my legal advisor. He's my special advisor.
Yeah, yes, your special advisor, yes. Yes.
The second thing is that I had no problem with him giving that. I just asked him, I approached him to give that presentation, firstly because he's an advocate, which is by coincidence that I have a special advisor who is at the same time an advocate and has a long record as a DG of justice in the country at some point.
Did you discuss that with Dr. Sibui in these 3 matters of border, security, crime intelligence, and PKTT before signing that disestablishment letter?
No, I didn't discuss with Dr. Sibui my directives. But we had meetings where he was present when we were discussing the matters, including border management.
Why did you excuse or from that meeting?
Why did I?
Being excused. Or let me put it this way. Were you chased away out of that meeting?
Myself?
Yes.
No. I was chased in. I was inside.
All the Lieutenant General from head office and divisional commissioners attended that meeting, am I right?
It was attended by national commissioner, deputy national commissioners, and provincial commissioners, but there was miscommunication. They had included divisional commissioners, and I said, no, it was not our intention to include them.
Was it not because of the attendance of Lieutenant General Khumalo?
Not necessarily. In fact, General Khumalo remained behind, and we had a long meeting after everybody had left.
Why you remained behind when you said it was not for divisional commissioners?
No, we were going to discuss submissions that were outstanding with him, that had not been signed for a long time because of the problem in Parliament, and we remained behind to discuss those, and I signed others and left others.
My follow-up question on that: what governance structures exist in SAPS outside the BOC, as well as the Ministry of Police, which exclude divisional commissioners, who also are lieutenant generals who are based at the head office, responsible for policy implementation throughout the development of internal directives? What are the governance structures which exclude them? When you say you felt that they're not supposed to be part of that meeting?
When I said they shouldn't be part of them.
No, you said earlier that you felt that it was not correct for them to be part of that meeting.
Oh no, we convened a meeting to discuss specific matters which I wanted to bring to the attention of the National Commissioner, Deputy Commissioners, and Provincial Commissioners first. And they would then process matters involving Divisional Commissioners and other relevant structures. They would do so, but the intention was merely to bring to the attention of the National Commissioner those particular matters at that level, in that particular meeting, not because I didn't want others or didn't recognize others, but I'd confined our intention to just those.
Yeah, but I've asked you earlier, I said what governance structures exist within SAPS, outside the BOC as well as the Minister of Police, which exclude divisional commissioner. You didn't respond to that, Minister. Do we have anything outside that ambit?
Well, there would be forums, because your question is quite open. There would be forums at different levels in provinces that you convene. There would be provincial forums that you would convene outside that, but I don't regard them as definable as outside necessarily. We have met, and our meetings in provinces has taken different forms at different stages.
Let me put it to you that the purpose of that meeting in Kiviskroon, as well as your presentation, including the one that Advocate Pikoli presented on the day, did not cover the disestablishment of the PKTT, the suspension of filling of vacancies within crime intelligence, and matters of border security, as per your 31st December letter. Do you agree on that?
That meeting was somehow a precursor of the 31st. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Not necessarily. They were not linked. The meeting at Kiviskroon was to register and discuss the concerns on the rate of murder, on the escalation of, or on the proliferation of firearms and drugs. And remember, up to that time, I had never had time to deal with these matters in depth. And I was then wanting the generals to share the concern that I had, as they did afterwards, one by one. And it was leading to other things. Not at that time, I didn't even have a thought about disbandment in any way. But it was at that time to focus us on the rate of murder, which was a concern shared by everybody in the country. And I wanted us to stop a little bit and think what it means when we have that kind of murder rate, including on scaring investment or potential investments in the country, and even picked up by Cabinet, that crime in South Africa is quite high, and it's very concerning. And therefore, I wanted us to find time and deepen our understanding on this matter. So it had nothing to do with what you are saying, Honorable Member.
On contrary, Minister, the letter was influenced by someone for other motive, hence the rush to write and dispatch it on the 31st after 5 p.m., where there's nobody at the office, at the national office. There was no one. You can comment if you want on this remark. But to me, it means one day the minister can wake up and write a letter and disband anything he wants and say he's acting within his right. The Constitution allows him, if you can do that without any consultation whatsoever.
No, I have demonstrated that the matters raised in the directives were not necessarily new matters. They are matters that had been under discussion for a long time within the department and in various platforms at different occasions. They were not new at all. What was new was actually putting them in a form of a directive, as I did. But the issues themselves and concerns around those issues was old as you and I are, if not even older. For instance, where I included border management, that matter has been around for a long time and it's still there, and people are still being killed. You know that even recently, no less than, I would say, 5 people in a week got murdered around Manguzi and so on. So it's an ongoing matter that is being raised in various platforms all the time. That I would have needed a particular time and a particular table and a particular, I would contest that. But I would also contest that I simply woke up and started writing. I had been processing these matters in my own head to say, how best can we handle this matter, and so on. So it was just the culmination of a particular process I had engaged on myself, as opposed to just waking up and writing. But I deny very strongly that there's any link between the meeting of the 24th and that one and the letter of the 31st.
But do you agree that PKTT was a successful task team?
Yes.
And why not replicate it, you know, to get involved in the issues, if it's you, in terms of taxi killings and murders which are happening in this country, particularly where we are in Cape Town, in the Cape Flats, the numbers are scary.
That's exactly what I said earlier. Not necessarily duplicating, I mean, literally. But what I agree on and I see rationality on is the result of the work study in 2019, where you say structure subs along these lines after a work study. Remember, the PKTT arose not from a work study, it arose from an intervention by the president. And it was then, you know, discussed, but it worked as one of the factors contributing. But to say you could, you don't have resources to duplicate that. You don't have resources unless you do away with, for instance, the 2 units. The organized crime unit, you do away with the other unit, that is violent crimes, the unit on violent crimes. You will need to do away with that. And then you have a team, which I wouldn't think that you would keep permanent. So you rather look at the model and you duplicate the model, not the actual structure, because the structures are there. And you need to look at sustainability.
Yes, Minister.
You look at budgets and so on.
Yeah, let me ask for us to move because of time. I will have added on that to say you can as well reduce the issue of VIP protection. I would have said that if I was a minister, to say I will have reduced and get a little bit of money from the VIP protection. But that's a debate for another
Why
day.
not? You together with me are members of the portfolio committee, and we can talk about that and see if it's feasibility.
Yeah, it's possible, Minister. But let's continue, Minister. The issue of, when I said to you, Section 11 and Section 12 of SAPS Act 68 of 1995. This above section gives powers to both the National Commissioner and Provisional Commissioners, including to organize or reorganize the service at national level into various components and units or groups. Do you agree on that? Not you. The National Commissioner and the Provincial Commissioner. Do you agree on that? Yes or no?
No, don't say yes or no. Say I must respond. And then
No, I don't want to respond. I want an answer this time, because when you respond, Minister, we are not going to end it today. But you can respond. Let me listen to you.
No, you are giving me a multi-choice where I have my own view. And my own view is that, yes, those powers, but within policy of the minister and all of that. That is the only addition that I want to make.
But do you agree?
Yes or no?
But do you agree that what I've mentioned to you is the competent of the National Commissioner and the Provincial Commissioner?
Subject to.
Subject to you.
To powers of the minister on policing policy. Because that's how the Constitution is written. I don't want us to write another.
No, we'll get to that, Minister.
Okay.
Now that you have listened to Nkabinde and General Mkhwanazi illegal obtained voice recording, which we have spoken about here, did Mkhwanazi threaten you?
Did he threaten me?
Yes.
Now, I felt that he was threatening me if the conversation between him and Mr. Nkabinde is true, as he related to me at the time when it was happening. Firstly, saying that he is angry. So, and then secondly, if the minister is clean, it suggested a lot of other things. If the minister is clean, and so on. So I felt that he was actually issuing threats. And it was undue, because the letter was not written to him in the first place. It was written to the National Commission. So I felt it was threatening. Whether I got threatened or not threatened is a different matter. But I felt that they were threatening.
Minister, earlier we discussed the issue of the recording, that what we listened yesterday, we found nothing threatening you. And what we are saying now is exactly what General Sibia said when my colleague asked him, Uguti, uyiphasile or uyifailile? And you know what happened when there was that conversation? Yeah, General Sibia said that, yebo angiphasanga kodwa. So we are doing the same thing. My question is simple to you. Let me put it again to you. When we listen to the recording, there's no way General Mkhwanazi has threatened you. Do you agree, or we are changing? Because you responded earlier. I'm asking this question deliberately to say, on record again, don't contradict yourself on this question. The question is simple. That when he spoke to, because we listened to that, there was no threat. Unless we are changing, we say there was a threat there, because you say he was angry.
The threat was not in the audio that we listened to. There was only a reference, but the threat was in their conversation on the 2nd. That's where the threat was, and I thought it had been recorded And I found that it was not part of what was recorded because it happened before the recording.
No, but
it was not in this record.
No, but Minister, you are misleading us again. You know, same as the issue where the bodyguard was shot, then you said the other guy. I'm talking about your submission. It's not us who brought in this document. Now we are saying there's another a recording perhaps somewhere, but we don't have, in your submission you don't have that. So for me, it's speculative. You know, for me, it doesn't hold water where we are because we don't have that. But for the sake of progress, let's come to the issue of crime intelligence and the Inspector General of Intelligence.
Let's not debate that matter. We have ruled on it.
Thank you, Chair. At least you must help the minister there because really, yeah. But let's come to crime intelligence and the Inspector General of Intelligence, Investigating Directorate Against Corruption and Independent Police Investigating Directorate. Do you know and understand the role of crime intelligence in terms of profiling people?
Yes.
Do you know and understand the role of Inspector General of Intelligence, IGI?
Yes.
Do you know and understand the purpose and functions of IDEC?
Yes.
Are you aware that General Mkhwanazi spoke here about the rogue? Some of the people at IDEC are rogue. Do you agree or you disagree with that?
Well, I don't know anything about that, but I heard him.
What I'm saying, it was for the first time. You were hearing it for the first time here.
That there are people who are rogue, there are people who are not
who are harassing, yes, who are harassing people,
yes.
Who are arresting, who are, like you, they say they'll arrest you as well, yes.
I was hearing that for the first time. I had not heard it before.
So there's no any correspondent to your office, to the Chief of Staff or to the National Commissioner, which was discussed about the issues of IDEC?
Not that I can recall.
At all?
Not that I can recall.
Thank you. Do you know and understand the role and the purpose of IPAD?
Yes.
Who do they report to? IPAD?
IDEC report to NPA, to the Director of Public Prosecutions National.
Yeah. If so, why didn't you refer Patricia Mashale matter to crime intelligence instead of IGI? The Patricia matter, which he wrote a letter. We have your submission here. Yes.
On various occasions, when Patricia would write whatever she writes on whatever platform, she included intelligence most of the time. This about intelligence, that about intelligence. And I thought it fit that I should ask the person who is Inspector General on Intelligence to look into the matter.
But earlier, Minister, you said when I asked you that, do you understand the role of crime intelligence? You said yes. And I asked you about the role of the Inspector General. You say yes.
Yes.
But you took the matter of Patricia to a wrong agent.
Not Patricia Delil, Honorable Member.
I mean, Patricia Mashale.
You please correct it.
Not really.
And apologize to...
Not really, Honorable
Sikhosana, may you please apologize to...
yeah, no, I apologize for mentioning Patricia Delil. It's Patricia Mashale.
No, not really, Honorable Member. On a serious note, Sikhosana, I saw nothing wrong in saying to the Inspector General of Intelligence, can you look at this person because she often writes on matters of intelligence. I just want to know who she is because I never come across her and so on. I needed to know. And he didn't say it doesn't fall within my scope or whatever. He did what I requested him to do.
Yeah, but as I said, it doesn't matter, Minister, even if he has done that. But it was referred to a wrong person. And Patricia Mashile is not an expert of intelligence. Do you agree on that?
No. I didn't want the IGI to write on her expertise. I just wanted to know, who is this person?
Now, is it true that Sisoka took that case docket of iPad to IDEC? Are you aware of that? Have you ever heard about that?
That what happened?
Yes, that Sisoka took the case dockets from iPad to IDEC. Are you aware of that case?
Patricia Mashale.
No, Sisoka. I'm talking about Sisoka now.
Soccer matters?
Yes.
Well, I'm not aware.
You're not aware?
Yeah, I've never come across anything that I read that pertains to that from her.
Let's come to your chief of staff. How long do you know Mr. Nkabinde?
I know him from...
Just a moment. Are you in the same frequency?
No, I am. I'm done. I'm done with that because if he doesn't answer.
You say Sisoka.
Yes, I said Sisoka, yes.
And then he says soccer matters.
No, I didn't say soccer matters. I heard you say. Chief of staff, as I ask you about your chief of staff, how long do you know Mr. Nkabinde?
I know him from 2017.
Is he a member of the African National Congress?
Well, I don't know.
Are you sure that you don't know about that?
I'm sure. I don't know. Just like I'm not sure whether you're a member of MKP yourself.
Oh, okay. So I should not be sure that you're a member of the ANC yourself?
Yes, because I haven't shown you my card.
No, I can show you my card as well.
Then I will know.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, is it true that you first met Nkabinde? Because my colleague asked about this thing. And I think it was the issue of Robert McBride. Is it true that the first time you met him, he was accompanied by Robert McBride? Can you confirm that?
Yes, I confirm that. I don't know who was accompanying who, but it was two of them that came to my home after I had written a letter to IPIT at National.
What was the purpose of the visit?
It was to discuss my complaint.
At your house? At your house?
Yes, at Mbangil.
Is it true that you were implicated in a murder case which involved one of your bodyguards that IPAD were investigating?
No, IPAD was not investigating that matter. You and I would know that they only deal with complaints on police behavior, so they were not investigating that. I had written this letter complaining to them about an investigation that I had picked up were being conducted by the Hawks on a case that had been dealt with over some time and got closed when the provincial director of public prosecution had applied their mind on.
Okay.
So then I heard that there's an investigation on the same matter taking a different form, I got worried because it would get you worried the way it was put. And therefore, I wrote this letter to say, let's be transparent. Let them be transparent. If there's anything, let them put it here, not the way it was happening. Then I wrote the letter. Then they came to address the letter. That is how we met.
So was that appropriate for them to come to your house, Robert McBride and him? Was that appropriate to discuss that matter with you at your house?
Well, in what context are you saying? Was it appropriate?
No. I can't answer for you, Minister. I'm just asking, was it appropriate for you to have that matter discussed with you at your house if you were concerned? Because we have institutions when we are not happy, like every citizen, because we are all equal before the law. That if there's a matter that I can really do like what you did.
I wrote this letter. They responded, and they said, we will meet at your house on such and such a day, such a time.
Okay.
And it happened.
Is it a common practice, Minister, or the job description of the Chief of Staff to get involved in making inputs on departmental matters?
Chair.
Now,
Sorry. I think he's asking a very important question, which I will want to just get a clarity of the minister. Is it a practice that when people have returned to IPIT take cars and goes to people's houses that have complained to the IPIT? Is that a practice? I mean, I'm hearing you say they said they are coming to your house and all of that. In line with what he said, we're all equal before the law. Is it a practice that when you complain to IPIT, they drive to your house to come and ask you about your complaint, or they invite you to the offices to come and take the matters forward, as it were, Minister?
I would say, as a response, they are the ones who are best placed to answer that question, because I might respond in a particular way and be wrong and say it is not their practice, only to find that they have examples where they would have done that. Or I would say it's not the practice, it was only an exception with me. And they would say, no, but we have done the same. So I would want to play it safe and say we rather direct the question to them in terms of their own practice.
So it's correct to say the Minister of Police doesn't know how IPIT operates?
On this particular issue, I haven't looked at their matter, but not to say the minister doesn't know how IPIT operates.
Minister, you are sitting there, people want to know, we are talking to a minister. Part of your responsibility when you are sitting there is to educate society. We are asking about the practice of IPIT. Take the opportunity as a minister of police to educate people about how IPIT operate. You can't say become subjective all of a sudden because somehow you're involved. I'm asking about general practice so we can be able to distinguish between what happened to you and what happens to the rest of us.
Now, I am saying in response, the best people to answer that question is them. Now, this particular specific matter, because I haven't checked it with them.
Thank you so much. We can allocate extra time later if you still want to pursue the matter. We must go back to Honorable Sikhosana because his time is no more.
No, not yet. I'm watching the time. I'm watching the time. I know I'm not a timekeeper, but I'm watching. Thank you, Chair. The following up question on that, Minister. Pala was classified, but it looks like you are saying the IPIT. How was Pala classified?
I don't know. It was classified by IPIT. The only time I got to know that it was classified was when one of the members of Parliament asked me a question, whether it is classified. I can't remember the actual question. And then I went to IPIT to say, can you brief me about this matter, advise me about the response here? And they said, no, Minister. This was classified by us for the following reasons. They outlined the reasons. And then I answered accordingly. It was not classified by Minister. And I see out there's a wrong impression that Minister Mchunu classified IPIT. There can't be any matter far from the truth than that one. This was classified by IPIT, and as per their competence, Minister can't classify. Doesn't have power to do so.
Now, the last part, two questions to you, and my last remark will be, did you receive any email from Honorable Adams complaining about a possible interference of SAPS, Western Cape, GP provincial commissioners on the cases that registered were registered on the 29th and the 31st of October 2024 respectively? And did you receive a response letter from the National Commissioner about Mr. Adams' complaint early in November 2024?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
Now, let me put this to you, Minister. That we have interfered with the prescript of the law by getting involved in the structural design of the South African Police Service by undermining 207(2) and 4 of the Constitution and Section 11 and Section 12 of SAPS Act, which empowers both the national and the provincial commissioner to manage and control the police service. Do you agree?
I don't agree because...
so you see nothing wrong which you have done on this matter?
Provided we are one in what you understand me to have done, and I need to explain it. We received, not even myself personally, but it was received by my office through Chief of Staff. And I then said, well, if it's like that, send, which we normally do, send that letter to National Commissioner. And he sent the letter to the National Commissioner who responded. But then there was another letter which was expressing his frustration, if I could call it that, about some matters he had complained about, and wanting somebody else to look at his matters, and that letter was sent to IDAC. That's the only thing that happened.
My last one, Chair, is that what you told us earlier. You said that Mkhwana's WhatsApp request is not part of the SAPS governance structure. Hence, you didn't convene a meeting, but you convened a meeting between General Mkhwanazi and Sibiya in June 2025 at your official residence. Now, the minister called a meeting between Sibiya, Mkhwanazi, and Masemula. You remember that? That you call that meeting, yes, as you said.
Yes.
What happened during that meeting? And what was the main agenda from that meeting?
So I first held the meeting between National Commissioner and that is General Masemula and General Sibiya, and said if there are matters that are unresolved between them and therefore require to be discussed, let's discuss them, because those matters, whatever they are beginning to interfere with work that we are all here to do, including them. And there was a discussion. Sibiya outlined his concerns or his issues. National Commissioner responded in basically saying, look, I understand what you are saying. I don't have any intention to have any problems with anyone. And let us take it that whatever you were concerned about, is now resolved between you and me. That's how the meeting ended. Now,
thank you so much. We will come back at 16 hours.
16 hours.
45 minutes.
Mamela mntasekhaya andizobuza nempilo. Mamela le application yakho ne ndicela ubakhuphe o-chairperson nokhumbaca because akho nto mosedibanisa bona as-such, no? Bebekula application yokuqala. So ngoku into abantu ndifuna ubabona ngabe batshintshayo only uChedi noMakhubela kubela, ne? And then ubone